Welcome to Crosspointe.
Welcome to Crosspointe.
Welcome to Crosspointe.
We are an inclusive faith community
seeking to live out the loving, just, and generous way of Jesus.
We are participants in a long tradition
that's less concerned with doctrines and dogma that demand total agreement,
but a life to be lived, enjoyed, and given away to others.
What unites us is a growing awareness that life is precious.
That we are made by love in order to love.
This community is comprised of and affirms the entire human family.
Regardless of race, age, creed,
physical abilities, marital or economic status,
gender identity, or sexual orientation.
So, if you're curious and have come to see,
if you are tired and have come to rest,
if you are grateful and have come to share,
if you are wounded and have come to heal,
if you're joyful and have come to celebrate,
if you are uprooted and have come to belong,
welcome home.
Welcome home.
Welcome home.
Welcome home.
When I am lost inside my mind, sing me the hope I cannot find. When my despair has left me blind, sing me the tune I've left behind. Will you sing over me? Will you sing over me? Sing of the goodness I cannot see. Will you sing over me? When all the grief pours through my hands, when I've forgotten who I am, can't feel anything but shame, sing out and give me back my name. Will you sing over me? Will you sing over me? Sing of the goodness I cannot see. Will you sing over me? Will you sing over me? When I sink down beneath the fear, the weight is more than I can bear. Keep singing though I cannot hear. One day I'll sing for you, I swear. Will you sing over me? Will you sing over me? Sing of the goodness I cannot see. Will you sing over me? Will you sing over me? Will you sing over me? Sing of the goodness I cannot see. Will you sing over me? Will peace of the Lord is upon us. Joy will be our strength. The Lord be with you this morning. We come to give thanks. Lift your heart. We lift them up. Lift your voice. We lift our song. Lift your heart. We lift them up. Lift your voice. We lift our song. The hope of the Lord is among us. We cast our fear with grace. Dayspring of life, will you guide us? Greet the day with peace. Lift your heart. Lift them up. Lift your voice. Lift our song. Lift your heart. Lift your voice. Sing to the Lord of creation. We'll praise the Trinity. Christ our incarnate salvation. May we embody thee. Lift your hearts. Lift your voice. Lift your heart. Lift your voice. Lift your heart. Lift your voice. We gather to pray and to break bread. We speak grace and peace. To love God and love our neighbors. We sing for those in need. Lift your heart. Lift your voice. Lift your heart. Lift your voice. Lift your heart. Lift your voice. Lift your heart. Lift your voice.
There are many ways we collaborate with each other to be the church we're called to be and to serve how we serve. And our contributing financially is one of the most important of those ways. If you want to help fund and sustain what we get to do together, go to crosspoint.org/contribute to see the many simple ways that you can do so. You can even text crosspointenc to 77977 to receive a link to get started now. Thank you for your partnership in the work we do together.
There's a thing that happens all the time in songs where the notes or the chords, they sort of assure you that there's another part coming to the song. You can feel it, even if you don't know anything about music. you can tell that it's leading to, it creates an expectation for the next part of the song. And it often gives you a sense of resolution. So it feels satisfying when that next part finally plays. And it feels dissatisfying, unsatisfying, incomplete, uncomfortable when it doesn't play. So I was talking to Stephen Claybrook about this, and I asked him if he could explain and demonstrate what I'm trying to describe. And fortunately for you, he said yes.
So I'm going to establish ourselves in this key. This is the key of C, and it wants to go here. Okay, so everything, it starts here and moves away. Music is moving away from home and coming back home. It's dissonance, and then which resolves into harmony. So tension and release. We're going away from home. Where are we? But when you hear that, oh, we're almost there, right? So do you feel the dissatisfaction of not hearing that final note? So now we can also thwart the expectation by giving you the note, but harmonizing it in a different way, which then now we're not home again, but we can feel what we got to do to get home, right? But if I leave it, we just know it's not right. This is because we have learned to listen to music in a Western musical context. Now, in the East, there are more notes than we have. If you think white notes and black notes on the piano, you can kind of see them up here. In between those notes, there's a bunch of notes in between there, frequencies. And we're not tuned to hear them because our system has 12 notes. And they function, like I said, establishing home, moving away from home, and coming back. It can happen with chords. It can also happen with melodies. I am stuck on Band-Aid because Band-Aid's stuck on. We know that it goes me. Now that's from recognition, but also just the musical aspect. If it stays on this note, it's unfinished. It either has to resolve down or it could resolve up, because that's also part of that, the home chord. But this note is not part of the home chord. So we just feel like we're waiting for what's next. I'm stuck on Band-Aid because Band-Aid's stuck on. Okay? Amazing Grace.
Do you feel that? How that's just hanging there now, unresolved? The sense of anticipation, the sense that this isn't the final thing. There's more. This isn't the final chord. There's more after this segment. I don't know how to explain that I know necessarily, and maybe I don't know, but I know in a way that I can feel it. And now all of that's interesting musically, of course, but more broadly, I like it because it illuminates other ways that we can feel a thing even if we don't have the vocabulary or the understanding necessarily to articulate it. It's there. We experience it all the time. A kind of suspense, a kind of wait for it, an undefined something that continues to make us feel like it's drawing us in, but it doesn't resolve. It won't resolve. Our circumstances, this seems like there's something that needs to change. Something needs to happen. Something has to be coming. You can feel it. There just has to be. But things won't turn around the way it seems like they're supposed to. And we've been waiting and waiting and waiting, and it just won't do what it seems like it's supposed to do. This all reminds me of a less technical way of describing this, but it's still relevant. When I did door-to-door sales in the early 90s, this guy taught me to, when I knocked doors, to just do half the Yankee Doodle knock. He said, leaving it unresolved, that drew people to the door. There was some sense of anticipation that it created. Now, once he got inside of a house, he didn't have very many tricks. Terrible salesman. Great door knocker, and his principle of creating expectancy, it stuck with me. It's often the thing that makes us go to church, I think. I don't know why I go, somebody might say, but it seems like those are the other people who, in the very least, they know that the song is going somewhere, that what's happening now isn't where it's going to go next. And it's not necessarily just a lack of acceptance, although it could be. Accepting things as they are, that's way more important than many of us have been taught. Acceptance is such a pathway to peace for and between ourselves, but at the same time, there's this other sense that I'm talking about. And it's strong in some of us and it's faint for others. Maybe it used to be stronger for you. This isn't it. Things aren't finished. They can't be. There's more, there's better song left. And this sense may inspire you day to day, or it teases you into anger at this point in your life, depending on what it's about and how long it's been going on. And here's the little wrinkle with this illustration. I sort of make it sound like a funny little quirk to human existence, but what I'm actually describing behind the metaphors is not enjoyable at all for a lot of us. It's hell. It can be awful. And I don't know what you guys do for a living, but my gig provides me with what I assume is an uncommon amount of access to people's real lives, like their deeper thoughts and feelings, what they're hoping and fearing and wondering, what they actually think. Now, I will say my wife's a hairstylist, and people tell her everything as soon as they get in her chair. And so maybe I'm not in as unique of an inside scoop position as I think I am. But either way, I'm aware of a lot of people's stories and how they wish and pray that things would change, and those things won't change. Maybe I'm describing you. Maybe you're waiting for something. What is it? And what ways do you find yourself expectant? Like, things have to change, don't they? Sort of a posture. I'm talking about how many of us are waiting to feel better. And no matter what we've done, who we've gone to see, we just don't feel good. We've been off for a long time. Our bodies and or our minds. Some of us have waited and waited to find healing and wholeness, for a specialist to be able to help us, for a drug that would work, that would improve us, for God to respond to our prayers that we couldn't be praying any more earnestly. We're just praying for wholeness, for well-being. And maybe it's not for you, maybe it's for your kids or somebody you love. You couldn't be praying more sincerely than you are. And you're waiting and you're waiting and you're waiting, and it feels like something has to change, right? Or some of us feel like we've been waiting to feel more worthy, more valuable as people. And we know to say to other people, you're enough already. But when it comes to ourselves, man, it feels like there's something missing, and it's real, like a puzzle piece or a gear. It's someday going to snap into place. It really seems like it's going to, but it has not. Or some of us have been waiting for someone we care about, someone we love, to make us feel loved in return, to understand us and hear us and see us, accept and validate who we are. But instead, it sort of feels hot and cold, and we often feel like a background character in a movie that's about them. Or some of us have waited to just have people in our life, and just a handful of people in our life that we could say, those are my friends. Those are my people. They get me, I get them. And you've waited and you've waited and you've waited, and it's just, for whatever reason, that hasn't come together. It seems like it's got to someday, right? Or some of us have waited and waited to find something that we could call success. We don't fantasize about being stupid rich, swimming through gold coins like Scrooge McDuck. We just want something meaningful enough. And an income that will allow us to live without anxiety and exhaustion, where we don't, feel tension every time we open the mailbox. What bill is it going to be today? And to do all that without feeling like we had to sell our souls. That's what we want. And we've waited and just nothing would come together. It has to one of these days, right? Or maybe some of you, it's like my friend said to me last week, some of us are waiting and waiting for people all around us in society to wake up to the cruelty that they either cause or they benefit from, or it doesn't affect them directly, so they don't think about it. As it pertains to racial injustice or the mistreatment of queer folks, and it's like, how much longer before people start treating other people like human beings, especially those guided by the principle of doing to others what you would want them to do to you if the roles were reversed? How much longer? I mean, it's got to happen soon, right? It really seemed like we were getting close there for a season, and now we've taken more steps back. We're waiting and waiting. Some of us have waited and waited and waited and waited to feel as though God was as near to us again as God used to be. I mean, many of us, we had a moment or two once where it felt like God was as close to us as our shirt. And some of us felt that way for years. And then it faded or disappeared completely, and who knows what happened. But it made us think, did we do something wrong? Or was I naive? Was I insane? And we look at the faith of others and we feel that mix of envy and secondhand embarrassment because the whole thing seems so outside of us now. So whatever form it would take in the future, we wish something like that would come back again, that God would seem more real to us and speak and move again like the old days. We've waited and waited and waited. And maybe it all feels moment to moment like, an unfinished knock on the door, a progression of chords that makes it seem, even if you can't explain it, like, I know there's more coming. And maybe that feeling has persisted for so long that it's tiring. Maybe you're getting to the point where it's like, just forget the door, just leave it. Let the song end there, just on the wrong note, whatever. My wife and I have been watching old episodes of Naked and Afraid. We didn't watch it when it was first coming out. And I think we're the last ones to watch the show, so humor me as I try to explain. It's basically the same show every episode, and it works. The premise is you get two people who, they meet naked. They have to strip off all their clothes except for their microphone necklace, and they live in some incredibly unaccommodating place in the world, a jungle, a rainforest, a desert, Florida. And they have to figure out, they have to figure out food and water, shelter, fire, collaborating with a stranger that they just met, and they have to do this for 21 days. And it's super hard. They can tap out for any reason, physical or psychological, at any point, but the goal is to make it 21 days, 3 weeks, and then the show extracts them. Here's the thing, it is super hard. The mosquitoes alone probably would rule out me being successful. Most people couldn't make it, I wouldn't think. And yet, they know that the show can't go beyond 21 days. They know that if they get injured, there's a whole crew on the other side of the ridge that they can scream, and they'll come with medicine and bags of ice and everything, no matter where they are. They know that if they have a conflict with the other person, well, that's a bummer, but it makes for some good TV, and it's at max 3 weeks. They understand going into it perfectly well the purpose of the difficulty, the terms of the difficulty, the scope of the difficulty. Again, it's hard, but they have an understanding of all that. So I'm not saying that it's easy, but it's not as hard as real life. Because whatever you're trying to manage and survive, whatever and whoever you are trying to endure, you can't just tap out. You can't just turn to the producer and have the producer remind you, well, there's only 11 days of this left, and then we'll whisk you away to something more comfortable. It doesn't work that way. Frankly, how many of us choose difficult things, difficult hobbies or projects or even jobs, because the pain that causes, we can control. We're choosing that suffering, because all the rest of life, we don't get to choose the suffering, it seems like. All the rest of it is generally out of our hands. The rest of life is the long waiting for relief, waiting for something to change, to improve, for wholeness, for understanding. All of that feels completely beyond our ability to influence. And yes, of course, there are things we could take action on in our lives. And when we see what to do and realize it, we do. Generally speaking, we do take action. It's like John Stewart said a couple weeks ago, action is the antidote to anxiety. He's right. That's true so many times. We all want to take the right action when we know what the right actions are to take. But for so much of the rest of our lives, we've heard these chords leading somewhere, and it's frustrating because the next part of the song just won't play. The song won't resolve. We don't know how much more pain, confusion, disappointment that we can endure. And so we're losing, maybe some of us, we feel like we've already lost our ability to hope. So I want to spend a few moments and study an old song with you. It's in the middle of our Bibles, and it was labeled by somebody long after it was written as Psalm 42. Psalm 42. It's a maskil, if you were wondering, which I'm told it means it's not only a song to sing and maybe be inspired by, it's instructive. It illuminates and guides and educates. It teaches us something. So I'd like to read it all the way through, and then I'd like to poke around in some of the words and see if we can be thoughtful about it and benefit from really uncorking it. It says, "As a deer longs for flowing streams, so my soul longs for you, O God. My soul thirsts for God, for the living God. When shall I come and behold the face of God? My tears have been my food day and night, while people say to me continually, 'Where is your God?' These things I remember as I pour out my soul, how I went with the assembly and led them in procession to the house of God, with glad shouts and songs of thanksgiving, a multitude keeping festival. Why are you cast down, O my soul, and why are you disquieted within me? Hope in God, for I shall again praise Him, my help and my God. My soul is cast down within me. Therefore I remember you from the land of Jordan and of Hermon, from Mount Mizar. Deep calls to deep at the thunder of your torrents. All your waves and your billows have gone over me. By day the Lord commands His steadfast love, and at night His song is with me, a prayer to the God of my life. I say to God, my rock, why have you forgotten me? Why must I walk about mournfully because the enemy oppresses me? As with a deadly wound in my body, my adversaries taunt me, while they say to me continually, 'Where is your God?' Why are you cast down, O my soul, and why are you disquieted within me? Hope in God, for I shall again praise Him, my help and my God." So I'm sure I got the melody all wrong. I don't know what key it was supposed to be sung at. I don't know anything about that. I don't know who could. My focus is going to be on the lyrics and how the hearers, us, could be taught by it. In the first section, the singer says she longs for the living God. And I want to invite you to explore that that's true for you too, no matter where you think you are in your faith. Because this is not a longing for the Bible, or a longing for the God of doctrine or theology. It's not a longing for somebody else's God, or the God who's allowed to be depicted this way, but not this way because of orthodoxy. The living God, it's the real one. It's the one you and I long for sometimes, but we don't recognize or even give any thought to that because of the distraction of the God contained in our religious traditions. So I'd suggest that the living God is on the other end of that anticipation we sometimes don't know how to describe. That I can tell there's another chord in the song, another whole section of the song. This is the one who transcends the word or the idea, God. The one who transcends my understanding of God. The one that transcends the right beliefs that this church or this religion or denomination or these people's confident ability to defend Him. It transcends all of that. The living God that sustains all things and holds my atoms together and fills me with the capacity to live and move and be amazed, and who won't tell me anything that I want to know, it seems like. This, I think, is what's behind the living God. And so then we get to verse 3, it's also the one who won't, despite the singer living off her own tears, it's the one that won't show their face, doesn't defend their existence when people are like, "Where is your God?" which sort of leaves the singer and me and you with no more reply than, I don't know. I feel some things about all this, but I could hardly explain it definitively, as though God was something on a shelf in my house to describe to you. Then the singer explains that it used to feel differently. There was this whole assembly that gathered and sang songs of celebrations. It was great, it was real, but she can only remember those days now. It's not like that. But then she says it's going to be that way again in some way. And then she uses that word, hope. In the ancient Hebrew, which it's a language I don't speak and I'm not qualified to teach, but the word translated hope is yachal. And it's not a theological term. It's just the term you would use back then to say wait, or to expect. You can wait actively, you can wait passively, but either way, you don't have any control. That's yachal, so far as I can read in its several appearances in the Old Testament. It's a state of being along for the ride like you and I are. I'll tell you, I don't like the word hope very much. This is a new feeling for me in the last few years. And I think it's largely because of how so many Christians, they use it almost arrogantly, as if when they talk about hoping, it sounds like they have insider information the rest of us don't have. Like they know the producer, and the producer told them specifically how many days until extraction, relief, where the water is, where the banana tree is, where the dry firewood and the box of matches is. That's not hope that I recognize. That sounds like clarity. That sounds like scheduling or a formula. And frankly, a lot of times it sounds like a fabrication. So I'm telling you, despite my role, maybe I've never had anything like that. I never have. I'm not sure who has. That's not a hope that I recognize. It's not a hope that I find helpful. But I still use the word. This is not me saying, and so I won't use a word, but when I say hope, and maybe you can resonate with this, I mean something different. The way hope, or the word translated hope, is used by the songwriter, for instance, it's different, importantly so, because it's being described as a very uncomfortable, out of control, but anticipatory state that doesn't have anything currently to go on. It's not anything to be arrogant about, but it does have memories, past experiences to remember, communal memories of something worth recalling fondly and being encouraged by. And then it can also look forward. And this is a big part of why the song is referred to as a maskil, instructive or illuminating. It looks forward with confidence, but not in what is going to happen, what God is going to do according to the formula, how things are going to work out, for who and when. It looks forward confident in the singer's own eventual ability to be grateful again, to express praise. I will praise again. I will give thanks again. I will praise and I will be thankful to God again someday, one way or another. I want to come back to this in a moment, but hold on to that. You get to verses 5 and 8, and the singer recalls previous moments of encountering the divine, but mentions these cities outside the temple, outside the service or the ritual or whatever, as if to say, the way I try to engage the divine now doesn't work as well. But I recall when it did, how it was out there unpredictable and in the wild, and faith had substance, even if it wasn't part of the official status quo or the explanations. And then she talks about deep calling to deep. Her depths calling to God's depths. That's maybe something beyond words, something hard to measure, but is expressed chiefly in the love of others, that steadfast love of God. That's how that works. And then in things imprecise, like beauty and music and art, when she's alone at night. Then in verses 9 and 10, she confronts God. She calls God out. And it's something we shrink away from in church music, but Bible music does it all the time. She says, why have you forgotten me? Why do I have to walk around mournfully all the time because of my enemies oppressing me? The word enemy in the original language here, it does not necessarily mean a person. It's a term used throughout the Old Testament of anything that can frustrate or vex or burden or annoy or oppress. It can just be circumstances of life that seem like they were constructed specifically to wear you out, to strain your sense of meaning and joy and peace, to counter the sense in you that someone's looking out for you, that there's anybody up there that cares. And so she speaks to that. Where are you? Can't you see how things are going? For me, for us, where are you? Now, who does she sound like? because she has momentarily joined the chorus of the mockers. You know, God, they all say, where are you? You know what? I say it too. Where are you? And then the song closes with that sort of chorus once again. Why are you cast down, O my soul, and why are you disquieted within me? Hope in God, for I shall again praise him, my help and my God. She comes back to admitting that all she can do is wait on the living God. Not the God of a pastor's sermon who reduces everything to a formula you can control and predict. All she can do is all any of us can do. Wait expectantly for the one, the song, to play those next chords that it will resolve. She's expecting someday, regardless of what changes or doesn't change, she is going to be able to say thanks again. But she does something else again too. She says, why are you cast down, O my soul, and why are you disquieted within me? The Hebrew translated cast down is not super sophisticated. It just means to be stooped over, slumped down, bowed. You can think of it like what your body does, especially when you were a kid. Your body wants to say something that words can't say. Like, I'm just going to let gravity win. Ugh, you know. And sometimes that's all we can do, is go lay down. The word disquieted is also not so eloquent, so far as I can tell. The word gives the connotation of growling, making unhappy noises. And sometimes that's all we can say. But there's something instructive in her asking herself this, like applying curiosity and a gentle bit of confrontation with her own soul. Hey soul, what's with broadcasting your defeat with your whole person? I mean, sure, you're going to have those days, but what's with going on and on presenting yourself as finished? Hey soul, what's with the growling and the grumbling? I mean, sure, we're going to have those days, fine. But what's with making like negativity, this unhappy persona, the complaints, the cynicism, the unwillingness to say or affirm or recognize anything good? What's with trying to cobble an entire identity out of that? We're waiting, anticipating. The song's not over. I know you feel it. Why remain collapsed and grouchy as though the credits have already rolled? There's more song left. One way or another, it's going to turn out in such a way we're going to be grateful again. Maybe not this year, but eventually. Either the circumstances are going to change because nothing stays the same forever, or they're not going to change the way that we want, but we still will have experienced and learned things we would not have otherwise known. I would never say this to somebody right in the middle of their worst day. I would never tell somebody to adopt this perspective right as they're finding themselves in the middle of unspeakable suffering or tragedy or heartbreak. But I will say right now, as one who has suffered his own, as one who is currently, not metaphorically so that it works in a message, right now, tired of waiting for some stuff, exhausted by some unrelenting particular pains and disappointments and confusions. As that guy, I will say today to you, endure. Together, with anyone and everyone that will endure with you, which is another way of describing your church, endure. Now, don't pretend to be doing better than you're doing. Don't perform faith to look strong, but also endure. Wait, anticipate, expectantly wait together. Join in the collective waiting that is our human lives lived in faith together. Admit the suffering, and choose to wait as one waits for the next notes that they know, deep calling to deep. I might not be able to say it, but I know eventually those next notes are going to play. Endure together. And in the process, don't become the terrible things that have happened to you. Don't become unreachably self-protecting and cynical. Don't become the defensive reactions that show up so often to insulate you from feeling anything else. Best you can, if you can recognize it, don't let difficulty and pain uncreate you and turn you into something else. When you're ready, and with the insights of others in your life that you trust, force difficulty and pain to teach you. No matter how circumstances actually turn out, that's how we tame suffering. If we can't get rid of it, we can tame it by not letting it uncreate us. We make it teach us. We demand that it serve us on our path to becoming the most loving, wise, kind, understanding, aware people we can be. I know at this point in my life that pain can be and is transformed into wisdom and compassion. I know that. I mean that. It becomes awareness and deepening for myself and others. As much as I have some ideas about how I would like things to turn out, how I'd like and prefer for them to resolve, no matter when or how the song gets to the next chords, because I know they're coming, I will praise again because I will be grateful for all I learned. I really will. And if you're willing, so will you. And so as I close this, I don't know what you're going through or how you're hoping it will turn out, or what you'll become, or what you are specifically supposed to learn from it. I don't know how you think of God when you stop and consider, no, we're talking the living God, not the one that could not possibly be contained in what I normally think of when I see the word God, like on a dollar bill or something. I can't know anything about that, about you, but I will say this. The isolated feeling you likely feel as you consider how much you want stuff to be different, all the waiting you've been doing, that lonely feeling isn't as real as it feels. And I say that respectfully. I'm not saying you don't feel it. I'm just saying outside of you, it's not that real, because you're not alone. Cliche as that sounds, you're not. And I hope if you think and feel that you are, that in this moment, you would entertain a new story about that and would accept invitations to not only see yourself in a community of waiters, anticipators, of suffering tamers, but that you'd connect with others in whatever way the invitations to connect with them come to you. It won't be overnight, but I hope you'll say yes to the invitation to join waiters. And then I'll also say it's easier to wait when someone else who knows what's going on tells us to wait. It's still hard, but it's easier than looking around yourself and conceding all by yourself. I guess there aren't any other options. Maybe something else is going to eventually break through. Waiting together is easier. And waiting when someone you trust tells you to wait, that's easier still. So I'm going to play a role. I don't really think of myself as playing this role, but I'm going to play it right now. It's sort of a charismatic adjacent role, and that's already too close for comfort for me. So I'm saying that I'm going to play a role if you'll let me, if it's helpful. And if you do let me know that I know that I'm just as along for the ride as you are, despite being a professional Christian. I'm just hoping to help. So this won't be for everybody, but if it's for you, you'll know. Your job thing that you keep waiting for, and waiting and waiting and waiting for, stay with it. Something cool is going to happen if you stick to your principles and wait well. Your trying to figure out what you really want to do thing, what would make you feel fulfillment, would give you a sense of purpose that you'd be proud of. Don't give up on that. And don't augment yourself or settle either. Wait. Wait actively, but wait. Stay with it, nice and steady, and watch what happens. The house thing, take a deep breath. Don't cut corners. Don't try to keep up with anyone. Don't think that your stress, your anxiety about it is creating any results outside of you. So wait well. Good things are going to come, and you're going to give thanks for the space you'll call home. Those relationship difficulties, the roller coaster, the hot, cold, frustrating, can't break through to mutual understanding thing, that tried counseling, have read books, you bite your tongue, you explode, all of that. Wait. Keep being kind. Keep being humble and curious, self-possessed, self-controlled, tranquil. Keep listening. Even when you don't agree, keep listening. Keep saying what you mean, but only after carefully examining what you hope will happen when you say it. And wait well. One way or another, it's going to be worth it. So stay in an expectant, non-controlling posture, knowing that you will be thankful one way or another someday. Your exhaustion about other people's cruelty, their lunacy, endure. Cuss into a pillow or to God about people and the systems that continue to be forged out of bigotry and stupidity and hate. And then for the love of God, for the love of people, endure. King said the arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends toward justice. And then somebody else said, you and I have to bend it. So endure. Endure with the fruit of the Spirit and love and peace and joy. You're waiting well. And if you do that, if you'll keep doing it, you'll bend it. Your healing thing, and I want to be super careful here. I'm not a faith healer. Faith healers make me sick, ironically, but the health thing. Enduring for you may simply be continuing to ask the living God for wholeness, and ask expectantly. And then also say yes to as much help as you can that's being offered from others. And when you're tired of bad prognoses or the pain in the butt insurance hoops or remission or some lack of progress in your health, when you're tired about that, then you be tired. You go lay on the floor and growl. And then get up and find a way, if you can. Find people you trust that'll help you find a way to take the steps of the expectant. The steps of those who are waiting on the living God. Those who are on standby for the living God. Because there's more song. One way or another, there's a lot more song. And for you waiting to see if I say something that you can interpret as being for you, whatever the circumstances of your life right now, and for however long it has been this way, wait. Wait on the living God, the source, the song, for we shall again find ourselves grateful for the means, however hard, by which we became who we were meant to be.
If you would like to know more or get connected to Crosspointe, go to crosspointenc.org. If you're in need of care or assistance, go to crosspointe.org/care. And welcome home.